Welcome, everybody, to Illuminate, Navigate, Radiate. I am Brandon, your host, and joining us for another journey segment today. Today we have Amanda Gordon from Arlington, Texas. How you doing today, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for volunteering to come on and do this and share your experience and your story. I kind of Amanda reached out because I posted something on the school website that we're going to online, and she reached out and was interested. And so I think it's cool. It's the first time I get to hear your experience and your story as well. From just the brief little chats we've had, Amanda has dealt with anxiety, depression, panic disorder, some of addiction in her family as well. So it just sounds like a really powerful story, and I'm excited to hear it and for you to kind of walk us through your experiences with it and how you've been able to kind of build your life back from those tough experiences. So again, thank you for joining us. And we'll go ahead and get started. So just if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, Amanda, a little bit about you and where you're from and that type of thing.
All right. Well, my name is Amanda. I am a student at the same college, and I live in Arlington, Texas. I'm a pit bull. I can't look. I'm gonna mess up. Pit bull advocate and fur mom to 3 beautiful pit bulls and 2 stepchildren, fur babies. Um, I I don't even know, dude. I hate talking on screen. I'm sorry. I get so nervous and
You're all
fidgety.
right. You're good.
Um, I mean, I've dealt with, of course, anxiety. And depression I didn't get until I was an adult, but I've dealt with endometriosis and PCOS since I was 14 years old. I had my very first surgery at 21 because it was an emergency surgery because all the doctors kept telling my mom it was in my head. Um, so, of course, that was kind of traumatizing a little bit in its own because I was told nothing was wrong with me when I knew something was. Um, so I dealt with that. That kind of triggered a little bit of addiction because it does run in my family. My dad, my uncle, his brother, and their dad and their mom were all alcoholics.
Mm.
My dad would literally kill a 12 pack at least every night when he got home from work. My uncle didn't even work because he was such a big alcoholic, he couldn't function. My my aunt, my mom's sister, she was an alcoholic. Um, so I've been around alcohol my entire life. My dad gave me my first beer at 16.
Is
Um,
that something you were aware of while you were growing up, like of that it was a problem, or was it just kind of did it feel like normal life, or did you understand like there was problems with it as well in your family?
I honestly thought it was normal. Like that was my life. That's what everybody's parents did. Um, it wasn't until probably junior high or high school that I was like, wait, hold on. This isn't really normal. I mean, and my mom and my dad, they fought. Like it got they fought so bad, like physical hitting everything type of fights, that I thought that was normal. And that's what I based my relationships off of as well. Um, and it wasn't until I was in junior high or high school that I was like, wait, something has to change. And like me, my brother, and my sister would literally beg them to divorce, and they wouldn't. But I mean, at the end of the day, they had their issues, but they did love each other and they did have each other's backs. So I got to see the good with the bad, I guess. Um, but it was few and far between sometimes. My mom, she struggled with addiction. She still struggles with addiction. She smokes crack cocaine, um, and she has since I could I couldn't tell you a time where I didn't when I was the age that I knew what was going on that
Yeah.
she didn't. And I'm 35 now, about to be 36, so that's a long time to be, I guess, an addict on one drug. But I mean, they say addiction is addiction, but there you can be a functioning addict. Like she doesn't do it every day. She doesn't. base her life off of it. She doesn't go out stealing to get it, anything like that. She's never done any kind of jail time over drugs or anything. Like her addiction does not control her pretty much. Like she can go without it. I think it's just one of those where it's her escape from reality,
Yeah.
especially now after everything that we've been through. She lost my dad, she lost her sister, she lost my sister. So I think now it's just her way of getting that escape.
Yeah, and I think that makes, you put that well, is that addiction looks different for everybody, and using or our escape from reality, as you just put it, is looks
Mm-hmm.
different for everybody depending on who we are, or what we're trying to escape from.
Yep.
So kind of when you started realizing that and seeing that, did that of like realizing that it wasn't normal and that it wasn't like, oh, everybody's household or family is like this, did it start to affect you in any way?
Um, I ran away from home a lot to
Mm.
get away from it, the
Yeah.
drinking, the fighting, the drugs. My mom, for some reason, could always find me, though. No matter where I tried to run away to, she always found me. Um, I I was a bad kid. Like I put my parents through hell, and I was daddy's little girl, so
Mm.
I really put my dad through hell. And he was, I think, me and my sister used to joke around about, he prayed so hard that we wouldn't be teenage moms that he screwed us up, that now we can't have kids. Um,
Mm.
but my sister, she, up until she died, she struggled real bad with her own demons. And if I get emotional, I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. That's all right.
um, she had to take hormone shots to have her daughter, which she lost a son before that.
Mm.
And I don't think she came back from it. And she let those demons take a hold, and they were her downfall.
Is this an older sister?
Mhm.
Yeah. How much older was she than you?
She was 36 when she died. She was born in 82. I was born in 88.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
uh,
Her addiction was, which it was so crazy because her husband was a pill addict, and she was with him for 15 plus years, and she never once ever took a pill, got hooked on pills, anything. She smoked pot, but it got to the point where she had that gastric bypass, and the only way that she could actually eat and keep food down after that was if she smoked a joint and she got the munchies. Um, but I mean, that's common these days. Everybody, I feel, smokes pot for the most part, or some form of it. But she went from that, and then she had to have her, I believe it's her gallbladder, don't get me lying, something removed,
mhm.
and they put her on pain pills, and that was the end of it. And then she lost her son, and then she went straight from the pills to heroin. And it wasn't real heroin. It was this synthetic stuff that was going around called crocodile.
Mm.
It
Oh
was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
cut with gasoline and would eat your skin from the inside out.
Yep.
My little brother actually is on that, and it caused him to be disabled. So he can't hardly walk. Like when they come over, I have to all but carry him inside. So
Yeah.
it's been a crazy, crazy life. Like we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. Um, we were in like the not. I don't even believe we were probably right below the middle class line. Which is, especially as an adult looking back at everything, it's kind of, I can see where the addiction came into play with my dad and my mom, because my mom is a psychology major graduate
Mm.
from TCU, and my dad graduated from Penn State on a football scholarship and was in the Navy. Like And he had a really good job when he got out of the Navy. He was a pipe fitter in the Union. He actually did the Cowboy Stadium here in Arlington. So it, like, looking back, you can see kind of where it transitioned and where the addiction really took hold of him.
Yeah, no, I'm really sorry to hear about your sister and your brother and that pain that you felt in losing them, or losing your sister and
Yeah.
having to help your brother like you do. Um, what age were you like when that happened, when you lost your sister, as well as when your brother, when it did it was it that disabled him, that
Yeah.
caused him to be disabled?
Hmm.
Okay, so like for you, how old were you when that was happening around you?
So my sister just died in 2019. So, that's why I'm still really emotional about it. I don't really talk about it. Um, she was 36. So I want to say I was like 30, maybe 29, 28. No, I believe I was 30 or 31. I honestly don't remember. I have a tendency, without even realizing, to block the bad things out, and I don't realize it until I start talking about it. I I don't know why I do it or how I do it, but I guess it's something that I result back to, like, and that I've done since I was a kid, because my mom will be talking to me about something and I'm like, what? That never happened. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, Marie, it was. And I'm like, no, maybe it was Amy. You're going senile in your old age. But come to find out, it was me. So I I do have that tendency of not realizing it, but blocking stuff out.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. Is like I lost a really good friend of mine years ago when we were both using, and um, that's been 12 years now, and I still get emotional when I think about it and when I talk about them. I don't know if that ever really goes away. And I can say I don't deal with death very well.
I don't.
I don't deal with the grief process very well myself. Um, so that can be a really tough thing to kind of process and deal with, no matter how long it's been. Um, where were you at in life? As you know, I know you said you got diagnosed with anxiety and depression and stuff as you got older. When did that kind of start happening for you, and when did those mental health things start kind of taking its toll on you?
When my sister died,
Mm.
um, they came to light a lot when my sister died. When I got the call, I was living in Oklahoma, and my ex-husband was actually the one that called me and told me that they found her. So I think I left everything but my dogs in Oklahoma and just threw an overnight bag in the car, loaded my dogs up, and just literally left everything to get to Texas. And I went straight to my ex-husband. We're not married anymore, but honestly, he's my best friend. Like, if it wasn't for him, when my sister died, I probably wouldn't be here right now, because I was in a dark place when she died. um, I basically, like, just shut off the world and couldn't get out of bed. Would stay in complete darkness in my bedroom with doors closed, windows closed, phone off, until he came in one day and sat down next to me and was like, look, like, we've got to do something. Like, you're scaring me. I don't want to leave you alone. Um, I'm afraid that you're going to do something stupid. So, um, that's when I found a therapist, and I started getting diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And then recently, that's when I got, probably a year and a half ago. I got diagnosed with panic disorder. So basically, anytime I would try to leave my house to do anything, to go to the store, hang out with a friend, anything, like I would amp myself up, get ready to go, be excited to go. And then I would literally walk out the door and go to get in the truck, and I would have an anxiety attack. And it would disable me where I stood, and basically just like cripple me to where I couldn't get in the truck and go. Um, and then, of course, you have to make that phone call or send that text, hey, I'm not going to make it. And I mean, that takes its toll on relationships as well. Like I probably have like one actual good, like, best friend that she understands, and she's been there, and I don't know what I'd do without her either.
No, I can I can relate a lot to especially that panic and anxiety where um but there's been times where it cripples me for a full week or 2 weeks or a month, and I can't go outside. I can't go be around people. I just, for whatever it is, right? Like I feel good about it either the day before or the hour going up to it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to step back out. I'm going to get back out and do this.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then it's just like, ah, shit. Nah, I
Yep.
can't. And I gotta, and then I get anxiety about sending that text, right? And then you get
Mm-hmm.
anxiety about doing that aspect of it. And because it maybe that's the 10th time I did it to that person.
Mm-hmm.
And it just creates that like cycle, right? Where it's nonstop. You get anxiety about the one thing and then the next thing, and then you have the anxiety when you're supposed to go out and do it again or see it again, or go back to class or go back to work, and you're like, well, I haven't been there in a week, so now I don't want to go back.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it just kind of rolls like that.
I mean, I missed her baby shower because of it. I missed the birth of her daughter because of it. I missed her wedding because of it. Like, and I'm terrified because I'm supposed to start a new job Tuesday, and it's hybrid. Sorry, I can't talk. Um, and I'm supposed to go in office on Tuesday to go get my laptop and everything that I need for work. Because you can't use your own personal stuff. Um, and I'm so excited about it, and it's a company that I've been trying to get on with for years now, and I'm like so excited about it, but then in the back of my head I'm like, oh my gosh, the day's going to come and I'm going to lose this opportunity because I'm not going to be able to A, leave the house, and B, drive all the way to Dallas, which is like a 45-minute drive for me. And then be around people all day and in public and stuff. Like and I think it's hard for my mom to watch that because I was such, she tells me all the time, you were so outgoing when you were in high school. You were popular. You were constantly going places and going and hanging out with friends, and everybody was always coming to the house. And she's like, now to see you, not even like the most you leave your house is to go check your mail or you go out back with your dogs. But other than that, like I can't get you to come to my house, or you don't ever go anywhere. And I mean, my fiance, it's gotten to the point where my fiance will literally come in the room and be like, okay, it's been a month since you left the house, so you're gonna go to the corner store with me just to get you out and get you some fresh air. And I mean, for the most part, I can if he goes with me, because I have him there with me. Like, if I attempt to go by myself, or my other best friend Blake, he's pretty good about it too. Like, and he knows how to get me in check or get me in control if I start to spiral or have an anxiety attack or anything like that. Like, he knows what to do and what to say. But other than that, like, I don't leave my house. Like, I tell people all the time, I just don't like people. Like, you never know because of the line of work that I've always done. Like, and I'll tell them my customer service voice went to Harvard. That's why. Like, I don't like people. I would rather just stay at home with my dogs and close off the world, which it's not really that I don't like people. That's just my defense mechanism, I guess. So I don't get judged or made
Hmm.
fun of or anything for my disorders.
Yeah, no, I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, and one thing that's really standing out to me is the support that you're talking about, as well as you share some of that with some of your friends or your fiance, or at the time your ex-husband. When you got to that darkest place for you, and you were dealing with that, were you initially open to that support, or was it a lot of just keeping it in and trying to deal with it by yourself, or just letting it control you or take over you?
Um, at that time, it was consuming me. I mean, I was circling the drain pretty much. The only time he saw me come out of my room was to go to the kitchen and grab another bottle of Jameson and go right back to my bed. I mean, um, there wasn't any. I don't even think I was trying to fight it. I think I was mentally, without realizing it, I was trying to kill myself. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Ugh. And I mean, that's another thing. I don't talk about my feelings and I don't cry in front of people. My dad was military. It's a sign of weakness. That's how we were raised.
Yep.
And I think that's the very first time I've ever admitted that I was trying to kill myself. Oh Lord, I'm sorry.
No, no, you're fine. When, especially when we don't talk about it a lot, and some of those things come out, it can be difficult to hear ourselves say. It can be difficult to just remember how dark like things had gotten in those really hard times, and that makes it tough to say that. And um, I just it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to be able to say it, especially like you just mentioned, if you were raised in a household where it wasn't talked about very much, or it
Hi,
was that, yeah, it was that sign of weakness, or and I'm about the same age as you, and growing up it really wasn't a thing. We didn't talk about mental health stuff as
yeah.
much back there. Is that your pit bull?
Yes, I'm sorry. He is a service dog. So if I start crying or if I start
um,
showing signs of an anxiety attack,
he comes to you.
he
That's
gets
awesome.
up in my lap and
Yeah.
tries to comfort me. And now
That's a
it's
good
probably
dog
going to be hard to keep him
right
down. Go lay
there.
down
That's
in
a
your
good
bed,
dog
Diesel.
right there. Then,
Yeah.
so it's okay to get emotional, talking about this stuff, and I think that just I think it really shows the importance in talking about it and sharing it, because it is hard to say. And when you have that strength and ability to say it, it can empower other people to do that same thing, and it can empower you to continue that process of working on it and getting better
Yeah.
and finding ways to cope and grow and all that type of stuff. So was it, I know you had said your ex-husband kind of like said, we got to do something about this, and that's when you started to see a therapist.
Hmm.
um, were you like, because I've been in that really dark moment as well, and I know it when I first went into that, like, okay, I am about to make this change, like I was kind of forced into it. um, I was skeptical for a while, and I didn't think things were going to change. And like, I was always unsure of really who I was in that early part of it, like where I was starting to get a clear mind and be able to think and stuff like that. So what was that like early process when you were starting to take that step out of that really dark moment, and you were starting to take some of those steps? Was it something that started to come a little easier to you, or were you pretty skeptical of if things were actually going to get any better early on?
Um, I didn't think that they were going to get better at all. Like, I thought that was my life.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like, it didn't stop my drinking.
Mm.
It basically helped me, and I'm sorry, I've got pictures of my sister surrounding my computer at my desk, so it's not helping any. It didn't stop my drinking, and I didn't even at that point I wasn't even trying to stop drinking. Like, I was more or less trying to get help with my emotions and pulling myself out of that dark place as far as trying to kill myself, I guess. And that wasn't the first time. My dad died back in 2010, and I was a daddy's girl, big time, through and through. Like, anything I wanted, call daddy.
Yeah.
um, Need help, call daddy. Daddy will bail you out. And it wasn't the same for my brother and sister. My sister had daddy issues to an extent, I guess you would say. My mom and my brother were really close. I was never close with my mom. Like, growing up, like, I literally thought until recently that my mom hated me. Because me and my mom would fight. I moved out at 17. I left home. Uh, that I remember one point I I went over to their apartment because once we all moved out of the house, my dad was like, I don't want to live in this 3-bedroom house anymore. Like, it's too big. Let's just move into a 1-bedroom apartment. And that's what they did. So I went over to go visit my dad one day because my mom was gone on one of her benders. She would be gone for days at a time, getting high. Um, so we were standing out on the back porch. They lived on the second story. And my mom, I don't even remember what I said to trigger her, but she came out and tried to push me over the railing on the balcony. And I, I grew up watching my mom and my dad fight, but I had never seen the anger in my
Yeah.
dad's eyes that I saw that day, or the hatred that he had. He actually grabbed my mom by the throat and pushed her up against the wall and said, "If you ever touch my daughter again, I will kill you." And he just let her go and walked away. And so that day, I mean, I left, and I didn't go back. Like, when I wanted to see my dad, I would come pick him up, or he would meet me at like a restaurant and we'd go have lunch or dinner or whatnot. But I refused to go home again, pretty much. And the day that my dad died, I had just gotten out of the hospital. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And the day before I got out of the hospital, my sister's mother-in-law died. So we had to, the day that I got out, I was never a dress girly girl, didn't own dresses, didn't own, I think the only makeup I wore was like mascara and eyeliner. Didn't know how to do my hair. My hair was always just in a bun. I was in jeans and boots and a t-shirt or sweatpants and tennis shoes. So she had to take me to go get funeral appropriate clothes. And when we got home, because I was staying with her so that she could take care of me because my husband was working a lot. When we got back to her house, my brother-in-law looked at me and said, "Hey, Ladybug, I need you to come outside and help me with something." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "I got to show you something." And I was like, "What?" And he looked at my sister because I heard him. He looked at my sister and he said, "You need to call your mom now. It's about your dad." And all of a sudden, I'm outside with my brother-in-law, and my sister is literally barreling like a linebacker out the door, and says, "Marie, get in the car. We got to go now." And I'm like, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Get in the car. I'll explain on the way. We got to go now." And I was like, "Okay." And I got in the car, and I remember her doing literally 100 the whole way to their apartment. And me being so scared, holding on to the oh shit handle and the dashboard, bracing myself for when she made impact with anything. Um, she couldn't drive to save her life to begin with, so that wasn't helping. Um, and I remember getting to their apartment. She still wouldn't tell me what was going on. And I remember seeing the ambulances, and their lights weren't on or anything. There was just ambulances and fire trucks and cops all with their lights off, just parked. And I'm like, I just kind of looked at her, and I don't even think she had come to a complete stop before I jumped out of the car and started running towards their apartment. And I walked in, and there's my mom sitting on the couch and a cop standing there talking to her, getting a statement. And I'm like, where's dad? Where's my dad? What did you do? Like, what did you do to my dad, you evil bitch? Like, um, and I remember her telling me, your dad had a heart attack, this, that, and the other. And her saying, I said, well, where is he? Like, why are we just standing here? Like, don't we need to get to the hospital? Because in my mind, I'm not thinking that he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, they're getting him to the hospital, the doctor's working on him, whatever. And I remember my sister jumping in her car, my mom saying, Amanda, drive your dad's car, and her getting in the car with me. And I want to say I did the top speed in that little Ford Escort that he had, all the way to the hospital with my emergency lights on the whole way. And we beat the ambulance to the hospital. And that's pretty much when I had a feeling that he was gone. And I walked outside when they took us into the family room and told us, and I punched a brick wall, broke my hand. And I remember calling my uncle, his brother, and telling him that his brother was dead. And in the room with, when they let you go back and say your goodbyes or whatnot, like, I'm literally like standing next to him, and my mom is searching high and low through all of his clothes, his pockets, everything, trying to find his wallet. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, can I have a moment with my dad? Like, do you mind? And all she was worried about was getting her next high. And she looks over at me and says, now nobody's here to protect you. And that's when I was like, okay, I can't be a part of this family anymore. And I think the last time I saw my mom was the day of his service. Because of course I went and said my goodbyes and everything and went to the visitation. But I think that was either that day or like maybe 2 or 3 days later was the last time I saw my mom, because I left and I moved to Oklahoma. Me and my husband decided that we were going to move to Oklahoma to be by his family. And we were there for like 3 or 4 years, and I didn't talk to my mom the whole time. And then, between that time though, like that's when I first was introduced to meth. And at that point I was so messed up in the head that I was like, yeah, whatever, like, let's do it. Because my thing is, I'm an upper person. I don't like downers.
Okay.
Anything that will give me that high that I felt invincible almost, I guess, like I was all for it. And
Yeah.
I just could. And I asked my brother all the time, I'm like, why heroin? Like, why do you want to take a drug that literally you take it and you're fighting not to fall asleep? Like, that
You just pass out.
yeah,
You
like
do it.
I've seen him be smoking a cigarette after the fact, and him just like nodding out, and me having to say, Bubba, wake up. Bubba, don't drop your cigarette. Bubba, you're about to light yourself on fire. Like, and it scares the crap out of me, because I'm like, I just know I'm going to get that call next. Like, because it's already only me, my mom, and my little brother left now, like, and my cousin. Everybody else is gone. Like, my aunt died of cirrhosis of the liver from her drinking because she would drink a handle a day of whiskey. Um, my uncle and my dad both passed away of massive heart attacks. I mean, my dad, he actually was trying to get his addiction in control. Like, he he switched up his life so much. Like, he retired, and once he retired, like, he went from drinking a 12 pack or more of beer a night down to maybe a 6 pack,
Hmm.
and it was light beer at that, and he switched to light cigarettes and was smoking like maybe 1 or 2 cigarettes a day. Like, he was trying.
Yeah.
And I think it, after all the years of drugs, and because I mean he did drugs too, but after all the years of drugs and cigarette smoking and everything, and retiring, I don't think that his body could handle all of it at once, and he had a massive heart attack and died at home.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your dad and your family members, and just that pain that you've gone through of losing those people close to you, and trying, because like I said, I'm not good with that. I don't deal with it well. I feel like it's just a constantly trying to keep moving forward when you lose those people important to you and that you love as you go through life, as we get older and everything. Um, and so, you've dealt with meth and alcohol
And pills.
um, and pills, and that's something that you're no longer
Nope.
using or on. So, kind of like giving all that up, what's been that like, especially if you've had it around you your whole life. What's been that process like of giving some of that stuff up?
Um, well, with the meth, my ex-husband actually basically like snatched me up out of the drug house
Mm,
and was like, "Look, like, you're not doing this. This is not going to happen. I will go to prison for murder. Like, I will murder every MFer in this house. Like, you're not, anytime any person that tries to sell to you or does sell to you, like, I will kill. Like, no, it's not. I I will go to prison. It's not happening. You're not going down this path. Your dad wouldn't want this. You're a
mm,
smart girl. You're beautiful. Like, you're going to do this and you're going to throw your life away." Because I was only 21. And
mm.
he was like, "You're going to throw your life away and nobody's going to want you, Marie. Who's going to want you? Like, if you're looking like a tweaked out crackhead, like, and you're only 21, keep doing these drugs 21, but looking like you're 51. Like, it's
Yeah.
no, it's not happening. You're not doing this. You're not throwing your life away when it's just starting." And he he he's he pulled me out of it. So that was that. And I mean, I s- I struggled with drinking from the age of 16. I mean, there's still days now where I'm like, screw it. I'm going to the liquor store. I'm gonna get a bottle of Jameson. I'm gonna throw this Sprite out the window. Like, I don't care. It's just been one of those days. Of course, I don't do
Yeah.
it, but I
Yeah.
mean, I talk a big game. um,
I hear you. There's those days where it's just like, screw life right now.
exactly. And I mean,
Yeah.
having my dogs in school and work and a man child and everything
My wife
else.
would probably say the same
Yes.
thing.
Having everything else. I'm 3 bedroom house. Like, right now we're talking and that one of the dogs is in something. I can hear them in the other room destroying something. A 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, cleaning it by yourself, a pool out back, like, that you have to keep clean. And I don't I don't ask my fiance for help because I mean he works his butt off. And again, I was raised old school where if the woman wanted to work, that was on her, but the house and the husband was still her responsibility to take care of, and the kids. So that's instilled in my brain. But I it wasn't until August, my birthday, almost 3 years ago, was the last time I had a drink. I and I don't even know how I did it. Like I honestly don't know, and I don't know what keeps me from doing it. Like it's crazy because like I
Mhm.
drank on my birthday that year with a friend of mine, our old roommate, and we were swimming, barbecuing, having a good time, and I was drinking. So my fiance likes fruity drinks, like girly drinks. So I think I was drinking like coconut rum and pineapple juice or something. And I remember just like my cup was empty because I had a Yeti cup and it wasn't the big one, it was like the medium sized one. So I wasn't like going crazy, like balls to the wall or anything. But I remember my cup being empty and I was feeling a little tipsy, and like I don't know if this happens to other people or if it's just me and my health issues, but like sometimes when I would drink, like my right shoulder, like I'd get sharp pains down my right arm, like not left, but right. And like
Yeah.
sharp stabbing pains and like between your ribs and your stomach right there. And I started getting those pains and I was like, man, this sucks. Like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Like, oh, and tomorrow is gonna suck if I keep drinking. Like
Yeah.
hangovers are
That
the
hangover.
worst. Like I
Yep.
hate it. I was like, well, I don't want this anymore. And I remember my fiance saying, "Hey, if you're going to go make you a drink, can you make me another one?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll make you one, but I'm good." And I didn't make one. I made him one and I didn't drink the rest of the night and I haven't drank since. And he's even always saying, "Hey, let's go to the liquor store, like let's have a drink. Like you never drink with me." And I'm like, "No, I'm good. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to." And there was a point in time where I told him, he got mad at me when I said it, but I was like, "Look, I'm not drinking for me, but I'm more or less doing you a favor by not drinking because I was the violent drunk. Like
Mhm.
I was the, oh, that girl just looked at me wrong. I'm gonna go beat her up, like type of drunk.
Yeah.
Like m- me and my ex-husband, we couldn't drink together because I mean we're both Leos. His birthday's literally 3 days after mine, and we would fight, like literally knock out, drag out fist fights. And
Mhm.
he was an air assault air ranger in the army and he did cage fighting and he was a black belt in martial arts. So why I would do that is beyond me. Like apparently I had liquid courage.
I was
Um
about to say alcohol makes us do a lot
yes,
of crazy things at
but I
times.
mean, and he'll tell you like I recently saw him, and see he still drinks, and I saw him probably a month ago when he was in town for work. He was at a bar shooting pool, and me and my best friend Blake went and we were shooting pool with him and stuff. And he's like, "So you really haven't drank in that long?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And he was like, "Well, are you sure you don't want a beer? Just one beer?" And I said, "No, I'll take a glass of water though." And he was testing me. He kept asking me,
Mm.
"Hey, you want a beer? Oh, do a shot with me, Marie. Come on, it's just one shot. Come on, for old time's sake." And I'm like, "No, dude. Like, you have fun. I'll shoot this water with you." But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so I think I don't know what it is. I think there's just something in me that's, and it could be from watching all the people that I've watched die to addiction. And like my best friend Blake, his brother, his older brother, he was found in the woods dead from a heroin overdose alone. And
Yeah.
so he knows too. And I think, which I was friends with him too. We've known each other for almost 20 years. Um, so I think a lot of that, like my bet, my number one best friend, Maddie, he back in 2016, he was killed by a drunk driver. I mean, I think just, and another good friend of mine who recently died in 2021, she was literally walking home from work and was ran over by a drunk driver and died. Um, so I think that all of that loss and all of the dark places has like put something in me that allows me to be fortunate to say no, like just no, like I don't have to do all of the hard work that most of these recovering addicts have to do, like meetings and withdrawal, and just like my little brother, I watch him when he doesn't have his heroin, like that withdrawal, like I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, like.
It's
And
brutal.
I mean, I'm just on the outside looking in, like I can only imagine how he actually feels on the inside from that. And it's just like, I have so much love for you because you're going through that and you're experiencing that. But at the same time, why start the process all over? Like, why be stupid? And
Yeah.
because I mean, I've watched him, like this past time when he went through the withdrawal, like he didn't have anything and he didn't have the money for it for like a week, almost 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. And then as soon as he got money, he got it. And I'm like, Travis, why would you go through that again? Like, you're on the home stretch of it. Like, why even set yourself up for that failure again? Because it is a failure in a sense, because you're having to have that withdrawal. But at the same time, like, I don't want to judge him because I don't know what he's actually really going through, because I've
Yeah, and
never
it's
done it.
just it's that struggle and that that it's so hard to explain any of those choices that we make when we're getting high, right? Or
Hmm.
we're using, and it changes us to be somebody completely different, or to make decisions that obviously we wouldn't make if we were in a better spot or understood a little bit more about what was going to come from that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch that cycle.
and I see I and it's looking back on it now, I'm like, were you so self-absorbed and self-involved that you didn't even realize that your own sister and your own brother were shooting up, like, and you were enabling it by giving them money, like, because there was multiple times where they would come to my job and say, "Hey, can I borrow $20?" Like, my brother would say, I'm getting a new leasing job. I need new shoes, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, here you go." Or my sister would say, because this was before she lost her daughter, like before she lost custody to her daughter, and she'd say, "Hey, I need diapers for London," because she knew, oh, say it's for her niece, she's gonna cough it up without even asking twice. And
Yeah.
I mean, they got so much money out of me, and I'm like, there's times where like I'll be sitting in the dark just thinking about it, and I'm like, how did you not know? Like, how did you go a year and a half, almost 2 years, without even realizing it? Like, what is wrong with you? But then again, I'm like, I mean, I was working. Like, I've always, when I work, I don't just work. Like, I work. Like, I work my to where I'm exhausted, like a walking zombie work. um, so I'm like, okay, and they would always come up to my job. So I'm like, I'm busy dispatching, and they're showing up at my job asking for money. Of course, I didn't take time to stop and question it.
Think about it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know, like, so I've had people around me say that, like, oh, how could I not know you were using? And it's just, I think sometimes we don't want to accept that either, right? We
Yeah.
don't want to see that in other people or people we love. And then sometimes it is just like, it's life, right? We're busy. We have things going on. It's hard to pay attention to every little detail. So,
Or they hide it
I
so well.
think that's pretty common. Yep. Yep. I was good at that. I know my parents and even my wife, we had met right before I got clean.
Mhm.
Uh, and she had people telling her stuff, and she was like, I'm not seeing that, or she didn't see everything I was doing. It's just because I almost had like that completely double life.
I
um
was the same way. Like, you'd never know that I smoked meth. Like, I mean, I've always been fairly skinny. Like, this point in time, like, this is the biggest I've ever been. Well, no, I take that back. I was like pushing 200 a few years ago. But like, I've always been fairly skinny because I played sports all through school. I ran cross country, I ran track, so I was always fit. So it that portion of it, because meth makes you not want to eat and stuff.
yeah, lose weight when you're
Yeah.
using. Yep.
So that was never really an issue for me, and I could always eat on it. I don't know why. Like, hell, even drinking, I'd get drunk and be like, "Hey, let's go get some tacos," like, or some French toast or something. Like I got the drunk munchies or something. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I like people didn't know that I was smoking meth for like 4 years. Because I didn't. I've never been the type of your addiction controls you to an extent, I think, because like when your addiction fully controls you, you're willing to do whatever it takes to get that high. And
Hmm.
for me, it wasn't like that. Like I didn't, you see all these, like the new thing that's going on where people are stealing Cadillac converters off people's cars.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like that where you're at, but here it's like a really big problem.
Oh, okay.
I never went out and stole anything for it. I didn't trade all of my worth money items. Like I always had nice stuff in my house. Like I always had big screen TVs and like the full setups. But like my brother, he would literally walk into Walmart, grab a basket and just start pouring like high item ticket items in the basket and just walk out like it's
Right out.
nothing. And I'm
Well, and
like,
that's, it's crazy to see that too, because I was the same way. I was the one who did all that stuff.
mm,
I would do whatever it took to get high that day, and I had people around me that weren't like that. Like they'd get high with me, or we'd get high together, but they wouldn't go to the extremes that I would go at times, and they wouldn't. I would get so obsessive that there was going to be some way, no matter how long I spent trying to do it, I was going to figure it out, to how I was going to get high that day. And it drove me and destroyed my life, in
it
that
does.
time. Um,
One way or
but
another.
that's,
It does.
yep, in a lot of different ways.
Mhm. Like, I never
Um,
thought that I would be where I'm at today. Like, I I dropped out of high school and started working full time, and was just getting high or getting drunk or both. Like,
mhm.
I mean, and then I didn't care. Like, I worked, but I didn't care about working. I So it controlled me to an extent, but looking back, if we were back then and you asked me where I would be at today, I'd
Yeah.
probably say locked up or dead. Like,
Yep.
because I mean, I already didn't live in a good neighborhood. Like the high school that I went to was a notorious gang affiliated high school. Like, I I never would be able to say, "Oh, well, I'm a double major in college. Like I'm getting my business degree for business administration and HR management and my bachelor's, and I'm getting my bachelor's in criminology so that I can be a forensic anthropologist." Like I I'd never would have like if you would have told me that, I would have laughed at you and called you a liar. Like
And that's,
I
that's
mean,
so awesome
seriously,
to
like
hear that.
I I never would have imagined, especially the criminology part, because
Mhm.
I mean, doing drugs and stuff, my family members being
Pretty
addicts,
comforting,
like
right?
my fiance asks me all the time, like, you need to just drop that major. Like, you're that's crazy. Like, your entire family are criminals. Like, why do you want to work for the police? You hate the police. Like, why? Like, but even back in high school, like I was always a true crime junkie back before it was popular. And I was
Mhm.
always the freak and the weirdo and stay away from her. She might kill you. She is too obsessed with serial killers. Like I like to try to figure out the serial killer's mind and how it ticks and why they do what they do and what clicked in them to make them become a serial killer. Like I don't know. I never would tell you that I'd have the things in life that I have right now. Like I have my dogs, which those are my babies because I can't have
Mhm.
babies, so those are my babies, and a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house that's paid for and has a nice in-ground pool with a diving board and a college student and a good job. And I would have called you a liar and said you're dreaming. Like, what are you taking? Share. Like,
Yeah. No, that's and that's why I think it's so important, to talk about and share these stories, because everything you just shared with us is is so hard to deal with, whether it was losing people in your life, or the depression you were in and the anxiety you were in, and all those dark moments, and being able to then you know face that stuff and find a better way to deal with things and to cope with things, so you can grow and double major and have that house, and that fiance and those dogs and just all these good things that you have in your life. And you said you're starting a new job coming up, and that's so empowering and so powerful to hear, talking about your experiences and where you're at today.
Yeah.
And congrats on all of that. I think it's amazing. I'm really glad you were open to coming on and sharing. I know you said you don't talk about it a whole lot. So I hope it was a good experience for you.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like, I think, other than being a crybaby, sorry about that again.
I'm a crier, so
I'm really, like, I'm one of those that cries in the shower when nobody's around to see or hear. Like, I'm an ugly girl crier. Like, I got an ugly cry. So, yeah, I think it's been helpful. And of course, I didn't mention my fiance in that. Sorry. Like, I'm very grateful for my fiance. Don't think that I'm not.
No, I think we can tell. I think you said it once or twice. I think we can tell with just, I mean, yeah, that's part of the great things that you have in life right now, right?
And I don't know. I think that seeing your post on the school site was like a sign. I kind of took it as a thing, like a sign for my sister, like, hey girl, you gonna talk about this, you gonna get it out your system. Like, it's been too many years now, let's go, girl. Because I pretty much, like, most people say, what would Jesus do? Like, I'm not a religious person. Like, I don't want to say that I don't believe in religions or anything, because I do, and to each their own, and more power to you. Like, I'm not going to say what my religion is, because there's backlash on that right now going around. That isn't true. But other than that, like, I live every day. Like, would Amy do this? Or, like, would my dad be proud of me for this? Like, and my mom reminds me every day, like, if your dad was here, like, he'd be so proud of you. And if Amy was here, like, she'd be like, oh yeah, you get it, girl, go. You do the damn thing. So that's pretty much how I live my life. Like, other people are, what would Jesus do? I'm like, what would Amy do? And
and you have that guidance, right?
Yeah.
And you can kind of use that as that guidance.
Yeah. And I've actually, like, entered poetry and stuff, because that's always been my escape, like, to get my feelings out, is writing, like, poetry and little short stories and stuff. And I actually wrote a poem about my sister, it's probably last year, and I submitted it into a writing contest, and it actually won and was published in a poetry book.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's such a powerful and great way to get your emotions and your feelings out, your thoughts out, is doing something like that. And that's that's another positive way to cope, as opposed to drugs or isolating or whatever it was, some of those things that were holding you back to becoming who you are right now, and getting you to such a good place in your life. So thank you again. I know you do have something going on with the I'm probably going to mess it up, but the 2024 Inked Cover Girl voting thing. So I wanted you to just share that real quick, and then we're going to put the link in the description. So if you guys have time to go vote for Amanda in that as well. But Amanda, if you just want to throw out a little bit of information on that real quick.
So it is the 2024 competition to become the new Inked magazine cover girl. There have been so many beautiful tattooed women that have been in the running for this competition that I am extremely grateful that I have made it as far as I have in the competition, because we are into round 3, which is the top 15 of each girls group. And I am currently number 6 in my group. So I am extremely fortunate. If I was kicked out tomorrow, I would be so glad of how far I made it, because I never thought that I would make it this far. Like, and especially seeing some of these girls, I'm like, oh my God, she is beautiful. Like, oh my God. But uh, having, I had like a lot of self-love issues, and
Oh yeah,
like I
yeah, I
didn't
get
like the way I looked. Like, I would cover mirrors and everything, and being the tomboy that I was, like I wasn't really into all the girly stuff. Like, I was more outside playing tackle football than playing Barbies. So learning how to do hair and makeup and dressing more girly and everything, and still having my tattoos, because it's more known now on women than back when I started getting all my tattoos and
yeah.
I was
Well,
weird.
and put yourself out there like that to be voted for. Like
Yeah.
that takes courage. That takes courage to do something like that as well.
Yeah, but the winner gets a cash prize, of course. They get to go to the Bahamas for the cover shoot, photo shoot. And they also get to get tattooed by one of Ink Masters winners, Ryan. And of course, the runner up, there's a runner up that gets a cash prize and a separate photo shoot. And then there's the artist pick, which gets to be flown to Miami, I believe, and tattooed by Tattoo Baby. So that's the least that I'm hoping for, because I love Tattoo Baby. I'm such a huge fan of hers. Of course, I am Ryan too, but Tattoo Baby, she holds my heart. So that's about that. And I would appreciate all the votes that I can get. And thank you very much for mentioning it. You're saving my skin in a sense with
Yeah.
that too. So even if nobody
Yeah.
votes,
Well,
I appreciate the shout out for it.
well, if you're watching, go vote for Amanda. Like I said, the link will be in the description there, so go click on it and go vote for her, and hopefully we can push her up that past that sixth spot for a little bit. But thank you again, Amanda, so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be able to share this, and thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience and your story with us.
Thank you. Sorry if I butchered it. It's crazy.
You did great. You did
I'm
great.
not a good
Don't
public
worry.
speaker.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. This has been Illuminate, Navigate, Radiate. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.